The wind moved gently across the wide fields of Ralden Ridge, carrying the scent of grain and the soft rustle of tall stalks. A man named Aaron worked alone beneath the pale light of the rising dawn. His hands were calloused, his clothes worn, and his posture calm. Anyone passing by would think he was nothing more than a quiet laborer, tending his crops on a forgotten world far from the great centers of power dot to most of the galaxy. The planet Myros was of little worth. It was quiet, distant, peaceful. It had nothing to offer beyond fertile soil and long stretches of open land. Aaron liked it that way. He had come to the world seeking solitude, wanting no part in the conflicts that shaped star systems and toppled empires. He had buried enough memories to last several lifetimes. He lived in a simple dwelling, tended his modest fields, and rarely spoke to anyone. The few villagers who lived miles away saw him only when he came to barter. Children whispered rumors that he had the strength to lift a broken plow alone, and that he walked through storms without flinching. Adults dismissed those stories as tales born from boredom, though they too wondered where he came from and why. Man with such stern eyes lived as a farmer. Life might have continued in quiet rhythm if the sky had not burned open one afternoon. All across the horizon appeared streaks of fire as a convoy of silver. Vessels descended through the clouds. Aaron stepped from his field and shielded his eyes. The ships were sleek, built with angular frames and glowing thrusters. He recognized the design at once. They belonged to the Celt Dominion, a wandering empire that claimed worlds without hesitation. A single vessel broke from the formation and slowed over his fields. Dust swirled as the craft touched down with a heavy tremor. The hatch opened. Out came armored figures in pale armor with long visors glowing faint blue. They surveyed the land. Then one raised a hand toward Aaron Dot. Behind them stepped their commander. Dot, it was a woman named Rhea, a soldier known for calm precision and an unwavering focus. Her armor bore markings of rank in past campaigns. She walked with purpose, flanked by her guard. When her gaze fell on Aaron, she expected to see fear or awe. Instead, she saw only a quiet man wiping soil from his hands. She approached him with measured steps. Her voice held authority, sharpened by training. She informed him that the Dominion had claimed jurisdiction over this region. She explained that all inhabitants would be evaluated for relocation while the land was surveyed. She asked for cooperation. Aaron stood still for a moment. There was no hostility in him, but there was something unreadable. He gave a simple nod and said he lived alone. He asked why soldiers needed to come to this part of the world when there were villages near to the hills where people might need guidance or protection. His tone was even respectful. Rhea studied him. There was something unusual about the way he carried himself. His shoulders were relaxed, yet there was balance in his stance. His eyes were calm, but they held depth. She assumed he was another quiet settler who preferred isolation. She saw no threat in him. She had no idea who he truly was. She ordered her soldiers to scan the surrounding area. They spread out while she remained near Aaron. She asked simple questions about the region. He answered each one plainly, offering what little he knew. He never raised his voice or resisted. To her, he was simply a man who tilled the soil. Then something unexpected occurred. One of her patrol units reported movement toward the ridge beyond the field. Rhea listened closely. The soldiers mentioned a large figure moving at unnatural speed. Before Rhea could respond, a roar echoed through the valley, shaking the ground under her feet. From the ridge emerged a towering beast, covered in thick plates of dark hide. Its eyes glowed ember red, and its 4 limbs tore through the earth as it charged toward the landing site. Rhea recognized the creature. A Ralden Ravager, a rare and dangerous predator that should not have been anywhere near human settlements. Her soldiers formed a perimeter. Weapons were raised. Orders were shouted. She prepared to lead an organized assault. Erin simply watched. The Ravager thundered closer. The soldiers unleashed a precise volley of energy blasts, but the creature shrugged off the shots as if struck by rain. Rhea saw at once that the weapons had little effect. If the Ravager reached the group, several soldiers would be lost before they could recalibrate their fire. She called for a withdrawal. Her guard moved back. She turned to see if Erin had taken cover. He had not moved from his place. Her pulse quickened. She shouted to him to get behind the transport. She did not want a civilian harmed. He did not react. The Ravager was seconds away. Rhea felt her heart tighten. She had seen settlements torn apart by such creatures. This world must have been more dangerous than the map suggested. She reached for Erin to pull him back. Then he moved. It was not a panicked scramble, nor the desperate leap of a man fighting for his life. It was a smooth, decisive motion. Erin stepped forward with a fluid grace that should have been impossible for a simple farmer. He walked toward the Ravager with steady steps, closing the distance before the soldiers could process what he intended. Rhea's breath caught. One of her soldiers reached for him, but he was too fast. Erin crossed the open field with such speed that dust swirled behind him. The Ravager roared and swung its massive claw downward. Before the strike could land, Erin seized the fallen blade from a soldier who had dropped it when stumbling back. It was a plasma-edged weapon, heavy and built for trained warriors. He gripped it as though he had done so 1,000 times. He met the beast head-on. The blade ignited with a bright red glow. Erin ducked under the Ravager's strike, spun with refined precision, and drove the blade upward into the gap beneath its plated neck. The creature let out a thunderous howl. He did not hesitate. With controlled force, he pushed the blade deeper until the creature collapsed in a violent tremor that shook the soil. Silence fell. Dust settled around them. The soldiers stood frozen. The Ravager lay motionless. Erin withdrew the blade and lowered it carefully. He stood over the fallen predator with calm breath and steady posture. Rhea stared at him. Unable to speak. This was no farmer. She walked toward him slowly, each step measured. She studied the way he held the blade, the way his weight balanced on his feet. She recognized signs that only elite warriors displayed. Reflexes born from relentless training. Movements refined by countless battles. Strength tempered by harsh experience. She asked him who he was. Erin cleaned the blade with a cloth from his pocket and handed it back to the nearest soldier. He answered that he was simply someone who wanted a quiet life after seeing too much of the galaxy's cruelty. Rhea's expression hardened slightly. She had served long enough to know that some truths were shaped by wounds. She pressed further, asking how he had learned to move with such mastery. Erin avoided her gaze. He said once, long ago, he had followed a different path, one filled with conflict. He left it behind because he did not want to raise weapons again. Yet when danger came for others, he could not stand aside. The soldiers whispered among themselves, awestruck by what they had witnessed. They had trained for years, yet none of them had managed to reach the Ravager before it could strike. Erin had ended the creature in a single decisive moment. Rhea dismissed her troops to secure the perimeter. Then she asked Erin to walk with her. She wanted to understand why a man with the skill of a master combatant lived alone on a remote planet. As they walked through the tall grass, the wind brushed against them like a soft current. She listened carefully as Erin shared fragments of his past. He spoke of a time when he had served in a coalition force that fought to defend outer colonies. He had risen to become one of their most skilled fighters, but war consumed everything around him. He watched cities burn. He lost friends in battles that he came to believe were pointless. He grew weary of death and destruction. Every time he lifted a weapon, another part of him dimmed. So he left. He traveled to Myros and built a life with his own hands, tending crops and seeking peace. Rhea listened with respect. She knew the toll war took on the mind. Her own path was shaped by choices that left permanent marks on her spirit. She never judged those who walked away searching for peace. In fact, she admired them. She told him that she had never expected to meet someone like him here. She admitted that she had misjudged him. She had assumed he was a simple farmer who needed protection. Now she understood that he was someone who chose peace, not someone who lacked the strength for conflict. He replied that he hoped the Dominion forces would not remain long on the planet. He feared what their presence might bring. Rhea hesitated. There was something she had not yet told him. The Dominion had come to Myros because they detected strange energy signals beneath the valley near his fields. They believed a dangerous relic from an ancient civilization lay buried underground. They feared it might destabilize if left untouched. Rhea had been sent to secure the region and protect its inhabitants. She had hoped to move everyone without chaos, but the Ravager attack had complicated everything. She explained this to Aaron gently. He listened with a thoughtful silence. Hours passed as the soldiers investigated the area. Rhea approached the ridge to oversee the operation. Aaron watched from a distance, thinking he might return to his home and resume his quiet life. But something troubled him. The Ravager should not have appeared near farmland. Its presence meant song.